Over just a few short weeks in 2020, a vicious monster took the lives of 3 people and attacked at least 2 others who barely survived the ordeal in Oroville and Las Molinos, California. A motive has never been determined for the heinous crimes. The killer scouted out his victims as he worked as a tree trimmer. Hey, that sounds familiar. The creature targeted older customers, with the youngest of the 3 he killed being 57, while the others were in their 80s. Once a person or couple had been selected, he returned alone after his crew left and slashed his victims' throats before making his escape without stealing a thing. The killing was what he came for. Ryan Scott Blinston, the Northern California Cutthroat. Ryan Scott Blinston was born on August 26, 1983 in California. There is little information aside from this on his early years, but he entered into the public record at age 22 when he stole a Ford Explorer in Hanover, New Hampshire. He was charged with felony theft. The next time Blinston pops up is in 2013. He had returned home to California and was using methamphetamines, which led him to burglary and additional thefts. Police arrested him in possession of 3 stolen guns and driving a stolen car. The drugs had pushed him over the edge into crime, but after his release, he was ready to escalate further, this time into violence. But what is strange is that the murders did not seem to be motivated by theft or monetary gain. In the year 2020, Blinston was working as part of a tree trimming crew that serviced Butte and Tehama County in California, just north of Sacramento. In mid-May, they were doing a job for an elderly couple in Las Molinos. Loreen Severs was 88 and her husband Homer was 91 at the time. Blinston scouted out the couple as they worked and realized how vulnerable they were. The night before the murders, cell phone tracking showed that Blinston returned to their home again, perhaps to see their routine. Then, around 7:45 a.m. on May 23rd, he came back. This time, he did not simply watch the elderly couple. Blinston broke into the home and attacked Loreen and Homer. Loreen died from a stab wound to the upper torso, and both had their throats slashed. Thankfully, Homer survived the attack and was rushed to a hospital in a helicopter. Once Blinston had crossed the line into murder, he seems to have been unleashed internally, as he was soon out to kill again. On June 4th, the creature was working another tree trimming job, this time for Sandra George, who was 82 years old and likely never suspected the evil that was in her midst. The drug-addled monster waited until the job was done and the rest of the crew had left, then returned to the home. He broke in and attacked the elderly woman, slashing her throat and leaving her dead in the home. She was discovered the next afternoon around 5 p.m. and declared dead at the scene. The final murder took place only 2 days after the George killing. This time, the victim was an acquaintance of Blinston rather than a customer. 56-year-old Vicky Cline was last seen with the monster in downtown Oroville on June 6, 2020. Later that day, he doused her car in gasoline and lit it on fire. When it was discovered, police searched it for DNA and fingerprint evidence. Cline's body was not discovered until 3 weeks later on June 21st, a week after the creature had been arrested. She too had her throat slashed and then was dumped in a river an hour away from Oroville in the town called Belden. Police were able to connect Blinston to the burned car, and before Cline's body was found, police wanted him for questioning. They learned that he had been camping out on a property in the town of Brush Creek, and SWAT was sent to arrest him. When they arrived, they discovered yet another crime in progress. Blinston was outside a mobile home with a hatchet trying to break in. When he saw police, he ran but was soon captured after being pepper sprayed and tased. Inside the trailer, they found a wounded man who had his throat slashed. He told police that he had let the killer move into the trailer for the night after Blinston complained of bears on the property. He woke up to find the creature standing over him. Blinston had stabbed him in the throat, yet the man was able to fight him off and force him out of the mobile home. Now in custody, police were able to connect Blinston to the killings that they had been working to solve in the area. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. 2 years later, in May of 2022, the trial began. The prosecution called dozens of witnesses and had hundreds of pieces of evidence, including photos, cell phone tracking data, and business records that all pointed to Blinston as the killer. On August 4th, he was found guilty on all charges and given 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Ryan Scott Blinston is currently housed at the Pleasant Valley State Prison in Coalinga.